They are so desperate for Caitlin Clark to not be the face of the league, even though it directly benefits them for her to be. The day Caitlin Clark isn't the face of the league is the day the NBA goes back to normalcy, aka irrelevancy.
The player that's most likely to launch a successful company is who?
Ooh. Honestly, I'm going to say Paige Beckers. She knows what to say. She's genuine. If she put her mind to wanting to start a business and a brand, she'd nail it.
Nneka Ogwumike. She's already been able to handle every business aspect of the league. So, Nneka.
It's like people forget, like, I have feelings. Like, I'm a real individual. Like, I feel things. I have emotions, and I get emotional, and I get frustrated, and I get sad, I get upset, I get happy, I get joyful, and like, I feel and experience all that stuff, but at the same time, like, I have really thick skin, and I think also I always try to remind myself is, like, social media is not always reality, and that is really lost on people, and I think we get so down a rabbit hole all the time that you read all these things, and you're like, oh, that has to be true, or that has to be what people really think of me, or that has to be what, you know, the young girl thinks of me that's trying to, like, that's not true. Like, the young girls and the young boys, they absolutely love the way you play, they love the way you carry yourself, and
in a recent interview, WNBA presenters sat there talking about the state of the league, about growth, about attention, about momentum heading into next season, and somehow didn't mention Caitlin Clark once. Not once. You could listen to that entire segment start to finish and walk away thinking the biggest story in women's basketball this year had absolutely nothing to do with the player everyone actually tunes in to watch.
The WNBA, they just keep driving into a wall at full speed with Caitlin Clark. They now have a commemorative poster of 30 years of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's not on it. And it's not just like an ode to the veterans that started the league. Paige Beckers and Angel Reese are on it. And Caitlin Clark's not. When she broke into the league, you moved her road games to bigger arenas to accommodate the fans, and she's not on the 30-year poster. I mean, recently there were TV games. Hers got double the rating of Asia Wilson, the best player in the league, the 3-time champ and the 4-time MVP. Double the rating. This is a paranoid, weird, insular league.
That's not an accident. When professionals whose entire job is covering this league sit down for a long conversation about where things stand and somehow skip the one name responsible for the biggest audience numbers in decades, that's not an oversight. That's a choice. People don't just forget the person who broke the most watched WNBA record in almost 30 years. They only forget her when remembering her means handing out credit they clearly don't want to give.
This phenomenon has just been crazy, right? I feel a little bit, I guess, empathetic for her because she didn't ask for any of this. Like, She just wants the ball, right? Like, she didn't ask for any of this stuff. I know that there's a lot of people that are frustrated that she doesn't speak more about some of the issues, like, that have nothing to do with basketball, by the way. And that's the unfortunate part for her. I had the opportunity to call on her games a couple weeks ago. I mean, she's ridiculous. When you watch, like, some of the shots she pulls and how she operates.
Because here's what's actually happening behind the scenes right now. And it's a story that's been quietly building for months. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is reportedly on her way out after this season wraps up, and a huge chunk of that conversation traces straight back to how she's handled the entire Caitlin Clark situation from the very beginning. Sponsors want her promoted properly. Broadcast partners want her promoted properly. And Engelbert, whether out of fear of upsetting the league's veteran core or just a plain miscalculation of what fans actually wanted, spent 2 years underselling the single biggest commercial engine this league has ever had walk through its doors.
So there was actually a report that came out today that says that the 2026 season will be Kathy's last season. Alexa Philippou said conversations with more than 20 stakeholders in and around the WNBA offer a general belief that for as much business growth as Kathy Engelbert has overseen, she's not the right person to navigate the demands of the league, the demands that the league currently faces, and what its stakeholders now need. I do think Kathy thinks, well, she's done her job. She's got us financially set up in the right way. It's the other pieces that we're talking about. Jeff Hunt, who is a specialist in crisis and reputation management, who has previously worked with the MLB, ATP, WTA, the PGA Tour, he said the hole has just gotten so deep. She's in a place now where I don't really know what she does. Others said that she had a failure to develop sufficient relationship equity. Multiple find it curious she hasn't prioritized developing a closer relationship with Caitlin Clark.
So now you've got players and presenters who spent years pretending Clark wasn't the reason cameras suddenly started showing up to their games. And they're about to watch the exact commissioner who let that attitude fester get shown the door. And once Engelbert is officially gone, the excuses go with her. Whoever steps into that office next is walking into a league that desperately needs revenue and desperately needs eyeballs, and there is exactly one player who has already proven, repeatedly, on record, that she can deliver both at a level nobody else in league history has come close to.
Obviously, I'm so blessed to be at the helm of this league during this incredible hyper-growth period. So blessed that these players are putting the product on the court they are every night. They stand for the values that the W has long sought for. So I will just continue to, do my job, execute the strategy because it has been working, make sure we listen to the players, communicate with the players. And so absolutely, just love this league and blessed to have had the career I had before and the career I have now.
That's really the part that seems to be eating at people the most right now. It's not fully about basketball skill anymore, even though the skill is obviously there too. It's about who gets to be the brand the entire league gets built around going forward. And the brand math here honestly isn't complicated once you strip away the emotion. Clark's games pull numbers no other player in league history has ever touched. Not during any previous era, not during any previous golden generation people love to bring up. A new commissioner walking in with a mandate to fix the league's finances is not going to spend one more season pretending that reality doesn't exist just to keep a handful of unhappy veterans comfortable.
This is insanity. What Caitlin Clark has showed us, the demand is still there. The hype is still there. And then when she performs like she did, and people are seeing on Twitter, people seeing on the news, and on social media, and on YouTube, and they're seeing headlines that say, Iowa CC is back, they're like, damn, those were good times. I gotta check it out. Wait, you're telling me Iowa CC? Wait, she did 45 and 10? Oh, I remember her doing 45 and 10. I remember those types of games. I remember her pulling up from the parking lot. I gotta tune in.
Caitlin Clark herself has actually talked about this directly, and she didn't sugarcoat a single word of it. She's come out and spoken about her genuine frustrations, about how a lot of people seem to choose seeing her in a negative light, painting her as some manufactured hype machine propped up by media favoritism, while quietly ignoring how good she actually is on the floor when the ball is live. She said it plainly more than once in interviews this year. People love to talk about the attention she brings, the jersey sales, the ticket demand in every city she visits, but they conveniently skip right past the actual basketball, the passing vision that's rewriting assist charts, the shooting range that bends entire defensive schemes, the record-breaking stat lines sitting permanently in the books with her name attached.
I think there's just like a false characterization of who I am sometimes. And I get it, as a reporter or as a blogger, you can write an opinion piece and that's your job and whatever. But at the same time, you don't know me. We've never had a conversation. I get people have a job to do, but at the same time, don't make accusations about my character and who I am when you don't know me. I understand this is your job and this is your profession and this is what you get to do. And basketball is my profession, what I get to do, and I get to compete. This was always my dream. And nobody should ever try to take that away from me. The love and the joy that I have for the game, and they haven't and they won't, because it's my goal to win championships. And I know that I can help this team do that. And that's always what I remind myself in the moment.
And you can hear the exhaustion in her voice when she talks about it. It's not really anger. It's more disbelief that this is still even a conversation 3 years into her career after everything that's already happened on and off the court. Because the numbers aren't hiding anywhere for anyone willing to actually look. She's the one putting up stat lines nobody else in league history has ever produced in a single game. She's the one selling out road arenas that used to struggle to fill a quarter of their seats on a random Tuesday night before she ever set foot in the building. Ignoring that at this point takes real, deliberate effort. Well, guess what? That's not going to last much longer. Once Clark is officially installed as the face of the league, and let's be honest, she already functionally is one whether anyone admits it publicly or not, they won't be able to ignore her anymore. Because the league's own marketing department, its sponsors, and its broadcast partners are going to build everything around her, whether certain players like it or not. You can hate the coverage all you want, behind closed doors. You cannot out-argue a signed television contract worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Look at this. She's become such a lightning rod. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how you can shape your opinion on so many different things, politics, race. Like Caitlin Clark and her playing in the WNBA has become some sort of like baseline for an argument in any direction you want to take it. It is fascinating.
This might be the single dumbest column ever written in the history of journalism. Caitlin Clark has done nothing but improve the standing of this league for black players and white players alike.
Yes.
And anytime there's an issue among other players who might be black, she has defended those players. She's never made it about race, and she's never made it about anything other than I'm getting beaten up in games. I like you to call fouls.
Yes.
And does she complain?
What's genuinely strange to watch unfold in real time is how open some of this dislike has become. Presenters who cover the league every single day for a living, players who share locker rooms and team buses with each other across different franchises, a noticeable number of them seem to carry real, visible resentment toward a 24-year-old who by almost every measurable business standard has done more for their collective paychecks than anyone else currently on a WNBA roster. That's not a guess or a hot take. Franchise valuations have jumped across the board. Media rights deals have ballooned into numbers the league never even dreamed of 5 years ago. Attendance across the entire league, not just in Indiana, has climbed steadily since she entered the picture. And the response from a chunk of her peers has been quiet coldness instead of anything resembling gratitude. It's a pattern that shows up in other sports too, so it's not like this is some unique WNBA phenomenon happening in a vacuum. Whenever one athlete's popularity outpaces the collective mood of the locker room around them, you get friction, you get subtweets, you get the numbers don't tell the whole story talking points from people who otherwise never bring up nuance when it doesn't benefit their own case. But most sports eventually get over that friction because the money speaks louder than the ego eventually does. Basketball apparently is taking its sweet time getting there.
But the more we get to catch these glimpses of Caitlin Clark, I'm like, ooh, I don't like you. I don't like how you behave on the court. And the league is positioning you to be its superstar because you are. And with leadership comes certain responsibility. And if you don't want that responsibility, I understand that. But the way that you behave, this entitlement that you behave, the way that you were talking to your coaches you and Sophie, you enjoy that, right? So if that's what you enjoy, if you want to be the villain, if you want to be the tough person, and I'm not even going to compare you to guys in the NBA, if that's what you two decide to do, or if that's what you specifically, Caitlin, decide to do, then let it be, because we're coming at you just the same way we would come at anybody else. And our fans need to recognize that.
And look, nobody serious is saying these players haven't earned respect on the court through their own careers. Rings mean something real. MVPs mean something real. There are legitimately great players in this league who've put in years of grinding work with far less attention than Clark received in her rookie season alone. And that frustration is at least understandable on a purely human level, even if it's misplaced. But understanding where the frustration comes from doesn't make it fair to pretend the business side of professional sports simply doesn't exist. Being the best player on the floor and being the face of an entire league have never meant the same thing in any sport. Ever. And pretending otherwise doesn't change how television contracts actually get negotiated behind closed doors.
And Caitlin Clark is the first athlete that is polarizing enough that there will be legitimate eyes on the WNBA this year. From a TV perspective, from an in-game perspective, she is going to elevate the brand of the WNBA like it has never been elevated before. And for Diana Taurasi to get on ESPN and say, that's pretty cool what you're doing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to have to play some grown women that have been playing, like, go fuck yourself. Caitlin Clark would literally put a 30 ball on your old head in your prime, and right now with one arm. And then for the other lady that had the scoring record before Caitlin Clark, oh my God, to get on the stage and be like, you can't duplicate what you're not duplicating. Are you Brox for brains? Like, shut the fuck up. She's pulling from the logo. You probably couldn't even do that. It actually pissed me off.
Look at the actual business side of this for a second, because the numbers really do speak louder than any locker room complaint ever could. Clark games have consistently pulled the highest ratings this league has posted in decades, drawing crowds that completely dwarf what most matchups managed even 5 years ago before she ever arrived. Sponsors aren't chasing championship rings when they sign a deal. They're chasing attention, plain and simple. And attention is exactly what she delivers at a scale nobody else in this league is remotely close to matching right now. That's not opinion dressed up as fact. That's what every single broadcast number this entire season has shown over and over again, whether people want to admit it out loud on camera or not. So when Engelbert steps down after this season concludes and the league brings in fresh leadership, whoever that ends up being is walking into a completely different set of priorities than the ones Engelbert operated under for years. The mandate going forward is going to be growth, revenue, and keeping the momentum from this season rolling straight into the next one without losing a step. And there's really only one built-in engine already sitting there, already proven, already delivering exactly that outcome month after month.
They probably understand that a lot of this growth is due mainly because of Caitlin Clark. Mostly because of Caitlin Clark. Okay, fine. Only because of Caitlin Clark. They probably understand that. And they understand Kathy Engelbert has done a shit job of capitalizing off of the Caitlin Clark effect. When Caitlin Clark came in the league, they probably understand, okay, time to be serious. Time to stop with all of this politics. Time to stop with this activism. Time to stop kneeling in the national anthem. Time to stop sitting in the locker room during the national anthem. Time to stop allowing players to date players. Time to take this to the next level, make it a little bit more serious, a little bit more professional.
There's also a generational divide sitting quietly underneath all of this that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in these conversations. A lot of the players who built their names before the streaming era did it the slow way, through box scores and championship runs that took years and years to build any kind of following around, game by game, season by season, with almost no national spotlight along the way. Clark skipped that entire slow climb entirely because college basketball, thanks to March Madness and national television exposure, had already made her a household name before she ever stepped onto a WNBA court for the first time. That built-in head start is a big part of why this whole situation feels so sudden to some of her peers, and honestly, so uncomfortable for them to process in real time. But sudden doesn't automatically mean undeserved. This league needed a jolt badly, and it got one bigger than anyone inside the WNBA offices probably expected. Pretending that jolt should have been evenly distributed across a dozen players who weren't generating remotely the same attention just isn't how sports business has ever worked. Anywhere in the world, in any era. Nobody seriously complained when Tiger Woods carried golf's ratings on his back for over a decade straight. Nobody seriously argued Tom Brady shouldn't be the face of his sport just because other quarterbacks also won plenty of games during his run. That's simply how it works when one person's presence moves numbers that nobody else in the building can move.
I mean, if you want to be treated as a serious league, then do these. This is what happens. These are tough questions, but this is a fair outlet for you, a fair platform. I will treat you with respect, but don't say yes. And then all of a sudden somebody probably said, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Well, at some point you have to do this. And she's 50 yards away. She's hitting practice shots out of the bunker. This is an important league. There's expansion. There's conversation. It's been agendaized. Everybody has something to say about it. Now you have a chance to answer these questions. I wanted Kathy to have that opportunity. You don't want to come on the show? Tell me you don't want to come on the show. I have no problem with that. But if you tell me you're coming on and you make us wait 2 hours, that's a problem. And that says a lot about what's going on, in my opinion, with the WNBA.
And that's really the story sitting underneath the surface of all of this noise. Once the season ends and Engelbert's eventual replacement takes over the office, the quiet resistance a handful of players and presenters have been putting up all year is going to run straight into a business reality that simply doesn't care about their personal feelings on the matter. Sponsors want Clark front and center on every campaign. Broadcast partners want Clark front and center on every promo. Ticket buyers, casual fans who barely followed women's basketball 2 years ago and now show up every week, all of them showed up specifically because of her. And that's not going to reverse itself just because a portion of the league would quietly prefer things stayed the way they used to be. The frustrating part, if you're one of the players who resents this shift happening in real time, is that fighting it publicly doesn't actually change the outcome one bit. It just makes the disconnect between perception and reality more obvious to anyone paying even a little attention. Every time a presenter runs a full segment on league growth and somehow skips the one name responsible for most of that growth, it doesn't erase her impact from the record books. It just makes the omission look exactly like what it actually is.
Y'all nasty individuals, and I'm talking about the commentators, the analysts, and I'm talking about you fans of other players that just want to be nasty towards Caitlin. Yeah, bro, you trying to steal her joy. She said you not. Y'all been doing this for going on 3 seasons now. Give it up. It's weird. Y'all putting false stuff on her name time after time, day after day. It's literally like y'all go to sleep with, what can I put on Caitlin tomorrow? And then wake up and be like, oh, it's time to go spread some more false narratives about Caitlin. It's like what y'all do every single day.
Caitlin Clark isn't asking anyone to like her personally. She's just doing the job in front of her, putting up historic numbers night after night, filling arenas across the entire country, and letting the results speak for themselves without needing to defend them constantly. And results have a funny way of outlasting resentment eventually, no matter how loud that resentment gets in the short term. Once she's officially promoted the way the business side of this league has clearly wanted for a while now, the players and presenters who spent this entire season pretending she wasn't the center of the story are going to have to find a completely new argument. Because the old one, the she's not actually that important argument, is running out of road fast. Because at the end of the day, leagues don't get to choose who becomes their biggest draw, no matter how much certain people inside the building might wish otherwise. The audience chooses that. One broadcast at a time, one sold-out arena at a time, one viral highlight at a time. Completely outside anyone's control in the front office or the locker room. And right now, whether certain players and presenters want to admit it out loud on a microphone or not, the audience has already made its choice pretty clear. And it isn't changing back anytime soon.